Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. NAJ meets with Health Minister over outstanding uniform and overtime payments for registered and enrolled nurses. Jamaican health officials heighten surveillance for yellow fever. And in sports, under-17 reggae boys return to the island following World Cup qualifiers. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carrie Simpson. Here are the details. Representatives of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, led by President Dawn Marie Richards, are currently locked in a meeting with Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton to discuss outstanding uniform and overtime payments for registered and enrolled nurses as well as midwives. The president, decked in black, was escorted by a group of nurses, including former President of the association, Patsy Edwards Henry. The nurses have been wearing black since last week. They also accused the government of using delayed tactics to avoid payment. While not endemic to Jamaica, the Ministry of Health has heightened the surveillance for yellow fever at the country's ports of entry. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, earlier this month issued an epidemiological alert warning against yellow fever in the Americas. This resulting from a recent increase in confirmed human cases in several countries in the region and a change in the geographical distribution of the disease. PAHO says in total, 61 cases of yellow fever were confirmed in 2024, with 30 resulting in death. And so far, there have been 7 deaths in January. Medical Officer of Health for St. James, Dr. Tanique Bailey-Small.
So even one case would be noted as an outbreak for us. Most persons, in terms of when you contracting yellow fever, don't necessarily have any symptoms, but then in terms of and they may recover if they do have mild symptoms. But there's a severe form of the disease that is highly fatal in terms of about 50% in terms of organ shutdown and can result in death. So it's something, of course, that we monitor for.
With less rain in the forecast, the Manchester Fire Department is bracing for an increase in bushfires, even as it grapples with attending to domestic-related blazes. Speaking at a recent meeting of the municipal corporation, it revealed that the lack of resources continue to be a challenge. Sandy Williams reports.
As climate change fuels more intense weather patterns and bushfires become a constant threat, Manchester is facing a crisis. Its fire hydrants are failing at an alarming rate, leaving the rural parish dangerously vulnerable. Of the 955 hydrants scattered across the parish, a mere 353 are functional. 335 need urgent repairs. 201 are completely out of service, and 66 are located in hard-to-reach areas, making them nearly useless in an emergency. At the latest Manchester Municipal Corporation meeting, the fire department sounded the alarm.
Persons are still enclosing hydrants onto their properties. Persons are still covering over hydrant pit valves on the boundaries of the roadway and their property. And those are some of the challenges we also will be writing to the NWA from our office, because there are some that they have covered over when they have done road repairs. And as such, most of them are in critical areas where if there is an emergency, it will hinder us from accessing these hydrants in order to effect firefighting capabilities.
Since January 2025, firefighters have responded to 129 emergency calls, a sharp increase from December 2024. Of these, 104 were genuine emergencies and 90 were bushfires. While the flames rage, prank calls are also on the rise, tying up resources and frustrating emergency responders who are already stretched thin.
It is stressing both on the men and the resources that are available to us, the wear and tear on the vehicle, the unnecessary use of fuel to go from place to place where there's not a genuine emergency and somebody else may be in need at that particular time.
Adding to the parish's fire woes, there have been 7 structural fires, 4 residential and 3 commercial. But in a stroke of luck, no lives have been lost, no injuries reported, and no one has been left homeless. The fire department also note a decline in property damage, providing a small silver lining amid the crisis.
We had only $4.2 million being lost. We were able to save over $1.6 billion as a result of the work that we would have put in.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
The Manchester Police is reporting a 100% decline in major crimes. Zone 2 Commander for the Manchester Division, Inspector Romain Brooks, provided the update at the handing over of a social housing unit in Colleyville recently.
Last year, this time, the parish saw 5 murders. Now it is 0. Robbery is down, shooting is down, rape is down, larceny is down, even aggravated assault. And the police has taking on this approach because majority of the crime that we have, especially the serious crime with murder and the aggravated assault, are interpersonal conflict. So the police are doing a lot of mediations. You know, if the mediation cannot work, then we send persons to the restorative justice, the other partners. Then if that cannot work, then we arrest them and bring them to the court, and then the judge will decide. Excellent.
He also shared that resulting from various strategies employed, the division is now relatively calm.
From the year start, this zone here, there has been no major crime. From the 7 categories. There was a spike in shooting last year, and we employed several strategies.
The opposition People's National Party continues to press the government to call the general election. The party now has its eye on unseating Prime Minister Andrew Holness from his West Central St. Andrews seat. The candidate Paul Buchanan was officially presented to supporters at a party meeting. O'Shane Masters has this report.
And you know, when the sheriff say, time to go, it's time to go.
KD Knight addressing PNP supporters at a party conference to announce Paul Buchanan as the party's candidate for West Central St. Andrew on Sunday night. They are banking on him to send packing Andrew Holness, leader of the Jamaica Labour Party and Prime Minister of the country. According to the various speakers, Mr. Holness has failed the country on many fronts, and the time has now come for him to pack his bags.
Some ministers had done some wrongs, and him fire them, and I big him up. I says, good work, Andrew. And then I start read and hear some things about him. And I said, but Andrew no had no mirror at home. Because if him had a mirror at home, when him look in it, him would says, I got to fire myself.
The PNP again took the Prime Minister to task over his court challenge to the Integrity Commission over its handling of his affairs.
When you have a man that run this country, that create his own law, and then go to the court to overthrow his own law because it go against him, is a very dangerous person to have in power. The politicians work for the people. How can your boss have a question about how you're conducting your duty and your answer is that your boss is bad mind? And you will let nobody no bad mind you. Nobody no grudge you for not what you have because you can't explain what you have.
It's why the PNP representatives say citizens must send a message with the impending general election.
And don't make nobody tell you so because he's a prime minister there, him can't move. So comrade, we have one more river to cross. And we are going to cross that river. And we are going to make Paul Buchanan be the next member of parliament for West Central St. Andrew.
The PNP last won the constituency in 1993 when Arnold J. Nicholson secured 11,774 votes to defeat the JLP's George Broomfield, who got 6,193 votes. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Mark Golding is calling for Governor General Sir Patrick Allen to oversee the appointment of a new chairman of the Integrity Commission. This comes amid what he deems as attacks against members of the commission.
And I say to our Governor General, Excellency, do the right thing. We know some vacancies are coming up. Make sure that no political hacks, no strongly politically affiliated people are appointed commissioners of the Integrity Commission, because that institution needs to be protected. There's no strategy involved in this. All that matters is that reputable, competent, independent persons are appointed who have no axe to grind other than to get to the truth and to uphold the institution and to try and rid Jamaica of the scourge of corruption. So I say to the Labourites, take your grubby hands off of the Integrity Commission and stop interfering with that institution and let it do its work.
The current chairman of the Integrity Commission, retired Justice Seymour Panton, has just over a week left at the helm of the anti-corruption agency. His term ends on February 25. George Wright has been readmitted as a member of the governing Jamaica Labour Party JLP, and from all indications will be the party's standard bearer for the upcoming general election.
A hero's welcome for Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Central George Wright at a meeting of a JLP's Young Jamaica in Westmoreland Sunday evening. Mr. Wright resigned from the party following a video of a man physically assaulting a woman was widely circulated. The police later revealed that Mr. Wright and the woman, identified as Tanisha Singh, both made reports of assault against each other, but then neither wished to pursue pressing charges. Since then, he has been serving as an independent MP. But with his renewed status in the Wholeness Administration, an emotional George Wright took the spotlight.
I was out here in the pavilion. I'm back in the team. My work speaks for me.
And like he never left, touting the work of the Andrew Holness-led government.
They're talking about the road from South to Grange Hill. Well, this government, the Dr. Andrew Holness government, has allocated millions of dollars to fix that road. So when you hear about the Spark program and the Reach program, it reached Westmoreland and it has spark in Westmoreland.
As for access to potable water, he says that will be coming for Central Westmoreland. Mr. Wright says he's in constant dialogue with the Minister with responsibility for water, Matthew Samuda.
Because several communities in Central don't have potable water. But at the same time, these communities are in close proximity to the watershed. What can go so?
And it's time for a break. Stay with us. More local stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. It's now time for the Business Minute.
The government is projecting $1,096.1 billion from revenue and grants for financial year 2025-2026, a 1.8% increase over the $1,076.7 billion in the third supplementary estimates. According to the fiscal policy paper, This is due to tax revenue, which is set at $949.5 billion, or 27.3% of GDP. Meanwhile, $340.3 billion is to be set aside for debt servicing, which is equivalent to 35.5% of tax revenue. The Finance Ministry says the debt service costs comprise amortization payments of $162.7 billion and interest payments of $177.5 billion. Further afield, OpenAI's board of directors has formally rejected a $97 billion purchase offer by Elon Musk and other investors. In a statement posted to social media on Friday, OpenAI's board chair said the company is not for sale and the board unanimously rejected the bid. There's been a long-running feud between OpenAI and Musk, who co-founded the company, known for creating ChatGPT. For the Business Minute, I'm Hal Shane Burke.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, GCAA, has described as misleading and alarming misinformation that President Irfan Ali was involved in a tragic airplane crash over the weekend. In a statement, the GCAA said that it wanted to assure the public that this report posted on social media is entirely false and that no aircraft accident was reported in Guyana's territory on February 13 or 14. The GCAA also said that there is no ongoing investigation into any incident involving President Ali. On the international scene, family members of Israeli hostages being held in Gaza gathered in Tel Aviv on Monday to mark 500 days since the October 7 attack. Relatives came together outside the American embassy to call on President Donald Trump to help assure the release of all the hostages as soon as possible. Despite the release of several hostages by Hamas in recent weeks, their gaunt, weakened appearances shocked many in Israel as families seek to step up the pace to release the remaining hostages. And an Arctic blast could bring potentially record-setting cold to the U.S. this week. Forecasters say wind chills could hit -50 near the Canadian border over the next couple of days and below zero in parts of Texas. With the regional and international stories, I'm Kelisha Williams.
Thanks, Kelisha. We now head to another break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.